we learn how to create the layers. First, start working with the frequency separations. We learn the recipe, but now we need to understand how we can work or how we can use this technique for clean the image and retouch this image. As we said before, we have the image split in two different layers. One layer is for the texture or the details. Let's call this detail and texture. And below this, we have this color layer. When we want to start removing imperfections using frequency separations, we will select the detail layer, and now we will select the tool we want. For frequency separations, I recommend you to work with the stamp tool. It will be faster and more precise. You will preserve all the texture you need. Have one thing in mind when you are working the frequency separations. You cannot work sampling all layers because the blending mode will do things like this. So when we are working in the frequency separations detail or texture layer, we want to only work in the current layer. If we do this, we will have no problems. Same thing, no matter if you use the spot healing brush, the healing brush, or the clone stamp tool, if we have the tool configured for work in the current and below layer, we will have some issues due the blending mode. So be sure you change the sample to current layer and you will be good. Again, for this, I will use the clone stamp tool. I will be sure I set the sample to current layer and I will work just cleaning the imperfections I have in the skin, things like this. And at this point, you will see this work is pretty much the same we have done without using the frequency separations. The best part of using this technique is you will be able to work easily the colors or the color issues, the redness or sun marks. You will be able to work easily because, as we said before, we have splitted the problem in two different layers. So in one layer, we will be able to work the colors pretty easy or pretty fast. For now, I want we understand how this technique works. Maybe you will not use this technique a lot for skin in the future, but you will use it for backdrops or things like fabrics, dresses, etc., where you have a texture and you need to work the color and the luminosity separated. Let me move my hands a little quicker in here. Let's remove some imperfections, and then I want to move pretty fast to the color layers where I consider it's the stronger part of this tool or this technique. Let's pretend we have done a pretty decent work cleaning the imperfections and the texture in the skin, so we can move on and you can learn more things. If I turn off this detailed texture layer, I will see just the difference in the luminosity and in the colors. I have no texture at all, as we can see. So instead of working straight over the color layers, I do want to have more control, so I will create an empty layer. In this empty layer, we can work with the usual tools in current and below. Like, for example, the healing brush tool, we can use it perfectly. Or the spot healing brush, if this is the case you want. And the good part of this is you will be able also to work with a regular brush because all the texture is preserved in the texture layer. So if we use the regular brush, we will be able to fix things like here in the eyelid. Let's select the brush. I will create a new empty layer. I will grab a sample from here and I will paint. I will grab a sample and I will paint. I will grab a sample and I will paint. Repeat this process as many times as you need. Do not try to fix all in one paint because it will look really messy. So let's accelerate a little more the process because I don't want to make you lose time watching me painting a lot. It doesn't have any sense. The idea of this is you can see we can blend the colors. We can create something more even just using the regular brush because, as we said before, all the texture is preserved in the auto layer. So let's do something like this. I will grab a sample of color. I will paint. Be very careful to do not mess a lot with the shape of the face. I will go further away. I will select a sample from here. Let me also increase a little more. This is too much. This is too much. So let me set this to even lower. Damn, I hate how now Photoshop is using the flow. Used to be very precise, and now these days I don't know what they do with the flow. Okay, let's take a look to the before and after so you can understand what I told you about preserving the texture. In here, as you can see, I only paint with regular brush, and in the auto layer, in here as well, and in here I do have the texture. If I do a quick before and after, we can see we already have done a pretty decent work fixing all the details and the imperfections in the skin. Depending of the radius you select when you start the recipe, you will preserve more of the details in one layer or move it to the other, so have that in mind. Sometimes you will want to have only the pretty small details in this texture layer, and you will be able to work faster, but also you will lose more part of the bigger texture. You will only preserve, let's say, the pores and the very small details. Let's do something else in here. Also in here. And let's take another look to this before and after. This is the before and this is the after. We have done this, working the details or the texture in this layer and in these two different, let's call these brushed layers, we have done these adjustments. As you can see, we can also work the face shape. In here, I reduce it on the luminosity, but I missed the color. So we need to consider this because this looks too grayish. Be careful when you work with a brush because you can mess it like I have done in here. But again, this is an example. I don't want to make you lost time watching me just painting. Okay, I think this is all for the moment, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.